Cell phones in school, should they be allowed? Many schools throughout the U.S. have been talking about taking the ban off cell phones in middle school. Students are able to look up information, contact people if there is an emergency, and also, most parents want their children to have cell phones with them. The use of cell phones in school is becoming a more popular subject that people are talking about, while students are begging to use them in class, so teachers are taking them away from misled students. Cell phones can be used positively in many ways. Cell phones are not distracting kids in class because kids can do in-class work on them. In case of emergency, kids can contact their parents. And lastly, most parents want their kids to have them. My first reason is that kids can do in-class work on them. Students can just carry around their smartphones instead of bringing us heavy textbooks that they need to bring. It is much easier to look up information on a phone than to search through a big textbook. It makes students and teachers' lives easier for taking and grading tests and quizzes that grade themselves online. The second reason is that kids need it in case of an emergency. If there is an emergency at school, students can just use their cell phones to contact 911 or their parents' cell phone. It's easier for students to just use their own personal devices instead of waiting in line for the teacher's phone, which all the students have to use. Contacting 911 is a lot easier for students to call on their phones than teachers. My third reason is that most parents want their children to have their phones. Students normally don't care about having their phones on them as much as their parents do. Parents like their children to have them just in case if they call them after school if plans change or to see if their children arrive at school safely. There are many pros to having a cell phone in school, but there are some negatives to it also. Students can easily get off task by going on other apps and websites that they aren't supposed to without their teacher seeing. Many students could take photos or videos of other students without them knowing. Games and apps could be on their phones, which teachers would not allow them to play on, which they will also do anyways. Texting other students could also be an issue that teachers could have found. This graph shows the percentage of boys and girls who own cell phones. In grade 3, there aren't very many students who own cell phones. Grade 4 and grade 5, there still aren't a lot, but in middle school and high school, most students have cell phones with them. This is probably because in high school, students probably find it easier to use cell phones instead of bringing textbooks and other objects to school. My expert, Eric Scheninger, has a great article about how cell phones can be used positively and negatively in school. His work is great, and I highly suggest you take a look at it. Eric Scheninger has many articles and speaks at many large conventions about many different topics, and cell phones was one of them. I read his article about cell phones and I found some great resources about it, and I highly suggest you guys should look at it too. My expert was Eric Scheninger. I sent him an email about my topic, but he never responded. I did take a look though at some of his work about cell phones. He's very good and has a lot of information about them. If you go to his website, which I have linked in the citation, you could go to and check out most of his articles and some of his videos that he did. They talked at conventions in other schools. Cell phones are making a comeback to schools near you in the future. There are many pros and cons about the use of cell phones. Mostly they are used in positive ways. Cell phones have a huge impact on society and children these days in and out of school. Schools should be allowing students to use their cell phones in class because they can do in-class work on them. Their parents want them to have them. And in case of emergency, students can contact 911. When students ask to use their cell phone, it shouldn't be a big deal to have the school confiscate it and yell at them. Schools allow students to use their cell phones in class because it is an overall good source of learning. Now that you have heard my side, what do you think? Should schools allow cell